my name's Nicole, and today we're going to be talking about how to set up an enclosure for a blood python. So, right here, I have my new friend. I don't think you can see him all too well, but I'll have to do a close-up later. So his name is Dracula. He is about a 1 or 2 month old blood python. Now, blood pythons are different from traditional ball pythons, which are the most common pet snake that people could have. They're great, I love them, but they're very different. So kind of similar shape with these snakes. These ones are going to get a lot bigger, much wider, and they're also, their temperament, especially when they're young, they tend to be a little nippy. And besides their personality of the actual snake themselves, they prefer a much, much more humid environment. They actually come from Indonesia. They kind of live in moist, darker spots. So that's the environment we're going to be replicating today. Your humidity should be a minimum of 80%. It's important that you track that and keep track with your humidity. So ball pythons are usually going to want a little less humidity. So we are keeping these snakes kind of differently. So that's that. I'm real quick going to run through what we're using. So for the actual tank itself, I have this 10-gallon glass aquarium. And I also wanted to add, I got this snake yesterday at Reptile Expo, so it was kind of my top priority to just get him home and get him in something. So I did already secure the heat pad to the bottom, but real quick, this one is just a Zoo-Med under tank heating system. So it's very simple. You just stick it onto the bottom of your tank. You're going to want to pick either the left side or the right side. You do not want to put it in the middle, because the whole point to creating this environment for the snake is that they can kind of regulate themselves. So if they want to be warmer, they can come and sit in their heat mat. But if they're hot, they need to be able to go somewhere to cool down. Otherwise, you're going to burn your snake or overheat them. It could also just cause them to be really grouchy and extra snappy if they're overheated. They get a little crazy. In order to monitor the temperature my heat pad is producing, because there's no way to see a numerical value for the actual temperature, I have this heat gun. It's out of battery, so I can't show how it works. So basically you turn it on, and you just push the trigger. Oh, it's working. And point it at something, and it will tell you what the temperature is of the object that you're pointing at. It's really cool. So you want to do that to your tank. You want to check probably 3 different zones of your gradient. You want to check your hot spot, your mid spot, and your cool spot. See where your tank's at, if you need to adjust the heating at all. You also should check if you have this simple probe that you don't have to, be invasive to your snake. You should probably check the temperature of your snake too, because that's what you're trying to heat. That's what you're trying to keep comfortable. So what temperature is your snake at? Is it way too cold? Is that way too hot? Check that out. All right, so now that we've picked our tank and our heating, the next thing that we want to think about is substrate. So again, we're thinking humidity, humidity, humidity. We got to keep this snake really moist. So I'm going to start with an underlayer. This is condensed coco husk. So basically what you're going to do for that is you just want to break the block up. I'm going to go for about a little more than half the block probably. Also, I have another bowl here, but I'm going to do a layer of this moss. Oh, it broke right in half. Nice. So we're going to do the same thing with that. We're going to rehydrate that. I actually have some from last night that I had just made. The third thing we're going to do on top is we're creating a litter layer. So I just have some leaves here. We're not going to, probably not going to use this whole bag or too much of it actually. But I'm just going to put a little bit in, just as the leaves, if you go into a forest, it could be hot and dry outside, and you move the leaves apart and the soil's wet underneath. That's what the idea is with these. It's just going to help with that. Plus, I don't know, I feel like it's something a little more interesting for him to move around in. You do not want your substrate to be too thick. That's, I guess, the most important thing here, because it's just never going to get warm over, certain areas. All right, so we have a nice layer. It's kind of thick over here, but that's okay, because if he wants, I want to give him a little spot. If he wants to push around the dirt and, like, I don't know, dig or whatever, he can do that over there. Here, this is where, oh my god, this is where my heater is, so I don't want that substrate to be, you know, this thick, because that thing's not going to feel anything. That heat's not going to get there. So, you know, you just, an inch, inch and a half max. You always want to offer your snakes water dish, plus it's going to help with evaporation. You don't necessarily want to put it on top of the heating pad, but you can put it kind of close to it. That'll help warm up the water, create some evaporation. Now I put the water in. The ground's kind of surface level to the water, plus we're going to add some moss later, but now I'm going to pick some plants to choose. I'm literally keeping it in the pot. I just want to be able to add them in and out easily without thinking about it too much. So, you know, we're just going to kind of bury it with coconut husk, basically. This one's actually really tall, so it's going to get a little squished, but that's okay. And then, in addition, I might add this plant right up in this corner. That way, you know, he's just got a little life in there. So next we're gonna do our moss. We don't want a thick layer of this. This is just kind of, you don't even need to put this over the entire tank. Just like put it in certain spots. It's just gonna help keep it like a little wet. I might just, you know, thinly spread it. Again, I had a lot last night because this was just like what I kept him on overnight. I normally would not use this much moss in the tank this size. But whatever works for the time being. So next, what we're gonna do is, this is a little hide I got. I usually don't buy hides. I'll make them out of like a plastic Tupperware. Just cut a hole in it and they can go in there. But this one is just so cute. So I got it at the expo yesterday. Yeah, so it fits in a corner basically, and then has a little hole in the front. So we're just gonna put that right here. So the reason why I chose to put my heat pad, or I mean my hide right there, is that it's over the heat pad, because they're gonna hide the most, and I want, or most of the time they're gonna be hiding, and we want him to be getting heat most of the time. So last but not least, we're gonna include our little litter layer there with the leaves. Again, we don't need much, just, I don't know, like, yeah, this is gonna last me a long time, this bag. There we go. You know, just doing something a little interesting to do. Yeah. So that's that. I also might add a rock in there. Let's see, I wonder if I have a smaller rock. Oh, this is my small rock. So yeah, I'm gonna add a rock in there as well, just to provide him a spot to climb up that's like totally dry. So like if he's just like tired of being in the moisture and it's just like, I need some dry time, he can just crawl up on top of this rock and dry out a little bit. So yeah, that's the basic tank setup. I may have to change his water after because I accidentally got a little dirt in it. That might happen. It's fine. Just give it a refresh. But yeah, it's really easy. Oh, the one other thing I did want to mention that's kind of important that I figured out. So what I've done here, again, this is just a regular like reptile tank, or aquarium tank lid, I should say. And I've just like fit this tin foil over probably about 2/3 of it, honestly. And again, I did 2/3 of it because that leaves 1/3 of it for actual airflow to happen, and the 2/3 is just to prevent additional humidity loss from the top of the tank. Obviously, you can still leave; it's not foolproof, but it's something. One other really important thing that I want to mention, like literally so important, are these little black clips. Mine are all misshapen from a couple years of use. But what you do with your clips here, maybe I'll do this side, is you just like hook it under one side of the tank, and then on the top, and it snaps it and it locks it in. And you do that on both sides, and it makes it so the lid cannot lift. This is really important.